This is Radio Aluna Teatro podcast.
Or Radio Aluna Theatre, if you like that. Whatever one you like. This episode, we are merendiando again with your hosts,
Mónica Alejandra Garrido Huerta.
Y Camila Díaz Varela.
And let's just do a little recap of how this works. Mm-hmm. So we'll present a full-length stage play in 3 episodes.
Adapted for the radio.
Yes.
Listen to it on your headphones in this podcast.
And then after that, last episode you heard was Augusto Viter. So we heard the play and then we were like, we feel really inspired. Let's bring an amazing human to talk about it.
Sí. So then we will interview people in these merendiando episodes. Merendiando translates into snacking, snack time. We're going to have a snack time, basically. Mm-hmm. And during this snack time episode, we will interview and talk with people in the community, artists that are involved in the play or that do work that has to do with things that the play talks about, or just like whatever we feel like is interesting and cool, whatever our hearts want.
And it will be in Spanglish.
Sí, en español y inglés.
Así, como si estoy diciéndole, me gusta comer chicken.
Mix eso up. It wasn't great. Okay, this week, we got to chat with the one and only Beatriz Pizano.
The director of Aluna Theatre. Also, she was the narrator for Leo and the writer of Madre, which is the next radio play coming to your ear.
Who is Beatriz Pizano? Well, let me tell you. Beatriz Pizano is a playwright, a director, an actor, and the artistic director of Aluna Theatre, a company that creates work from a Pan-American perspective. Although even the Pan-American idea, we talked about it in the interview, and that's one that's evolving as well. So we'll get into that later. But the company also produces an international biennial festival called Rutas and a festival of works in progress called Caminos. Aluna's original productions have earned them 26 Dora Maver Moore nominations.
Whoa, wow.
And 11 wins. So people who don't know what Dora Maver Moore Awards are, they're like our Toronto-based theater excellence awards.
Like the Tonys of Toronto.
Yes.
So, big deal.
Big deal.
As a writer-director, Beatriz has received a number of prestigious awards, including the John Hirsch Prize and the Chalmers Fellowship.
Sí.
All her plays, including a piece of theater for young audiences, have been nominated for Doras in the Outstanding New Play category.
Yeah. So that gives you a little taste.
We had an amazing conversation. We're so excited. So just sit back, relax. Oh, but before you do that, make yourself a favor. Get a little meriendita. Grab a snack for yourself. Or a glass of water.
Yes, I'm all about hydration because I feel like you can't really enjoy food unless your body is ready for the food, and I think water is a really big part of that. I think hydration's important.
It is.
Imagine eating a Cheeto with a dry mouth. That's just pain.
That sounds delicious. So sit back and relax and let's get this merendiando
started.
Wow.
Bienvenida, Bea.
Gracias. So, esto sí es una merienda de verdad.
Sí.
There's really food at the table. It's not a lie.
It's not a lie. Let it be known, everyone. We don't lie.
We don't
Great nachos.
No nachos, no le digamos nachos.
I'm sorry.
Tortilla
What?
chips.
Tortilla chips, okay.
Con guacamole made at home by Mexican hands.
We're here to talk about all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
Especially the experience of you as a woman in the arts with international roots in a position of leadership.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
It's intense.
Yeah,
You're
that's
intense.
Oh, yes, I've always been told that.
Who runs the world? Bea Pizano. Who runs the world? Bea Pizano.
As long as I run my world. That's,
Yes.
I don't think I run anybody's world but my world. That's it's interesting that the beautiful thing about being a woman, I think, is, for me, I mean, I'm sure it's okay, men can speak in the same way, but I feel very, very privileged to be a woman in this time and to realize that age is not, you're not done. It's actually a beautiful time of growth and the possibilities of changing and like figuring out who you are and how you see things like ambition. I've been thinking about it a lot because, I think this thing they call menopause is very, very interesting.
Oh, I'm so fascinated. It's like a big mystery to everyone until you get there. That's what I hear.
I don't know. I guess I have gotten here, but I just, like, I don't know if it is hot or I have hot flashes. I have never been able to figure it out because I'm always too busy.
Yeah.
But, but now, like, the most beautiful thing is the changing. And which is also changing how I'm now. I just wrote grants for the next 3 years, the big operating grants, and go, what is your vision? And you're so used to being able to answer these questions just like that. But I go, no, I want to really know what my vision is. And you know what? I'm not so sure right now. The ambition is not like it was before. I wanted to do this and I wanted that. And now I go, no, where do I sit as an artist in the world, and what do I want to do, and what do I want to say?
So let's go back to the beginning
Let's go back.
of time. Little baby Bea, what made you get into the arts? Like, what was the moment, or how did it started?
Little baby Bea in Medellin.
Oh, because I don't think I fit it anywhere. I remember being in high school, and the last year of high school, and the Columbus School, an American, an American school still exists where I went, made us all spend a day in a chosen profession. Like I said, okay, I want to be a vet because I loved animals. Animals have always been a passion of mine. And I spent a day at a vet, and I realized that I could never cut ears and tails. And it was like, I was traumatized. And so everybody had chosen careers, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I wrote about this in the last piece, and I actually did ask my father if I could be a bohemian. No, I didn't ask. I said I was going to be a bohemian for 6 months. And
as a job.
As a
employment.
job. Yeah, and he thought it was great. But I love dance. That was where I started, and I did start my arts taking dance classes in Colombia. I loved dance, but life had other plans for me. So I moved to Canada, and I figured out that I could go to school in psychology, and then I could dance in the evenings at the dance studio, and then I figured that I could do a double degree and do some classes at Simon Fraser University. That was the Center for the Arts. Yeah,
that's a good place to land.
I arrived. Yeah, it was interesting. It was quite a culture shock. I had just married. I know. One of my many marriages.
No, it's okay.
We won't get into how many. But and so I had el ajuar. They would send you así.
What is
el ajuar?
No,
Camila.
perdón.
No,
Please
Camila.
forgive my ignorance.
Yo tampoco sé.
¿Cómo así?
Pues, mexa.
Well, you had the most beautiful clothes that had been bought for you to get married, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. So I had chosen the most exquisite suits and everything. I like
That sounds amazing.
Very nice things. So I arrived to UBC, and nobody dressed as nicely as I dressed.
Yes.
And,
do you know every single Colombian person I've met, their style is like...
Yeah.
Oh no,
It's
in Colombia
amazing.
it still is.
I know, it
very
still is.
important.
Yeah.
Now I always go back as a Canadian, and I don't give an F. I just like I
"You're so
don't care.
simple."
But my cousin goes, "Oh, Bea, put on a little bit of lipstick," and then I go, "Only if I want to."
Yeah.
But
Right.
I really don't care. So I came here. I didn't know if I was going to stay. I married my high school sweetheart. I moved here.
Yeah.
I divorced him within the first year. Of course, I find freedom. I go, I'm not bound to anybody. My father said, you cannot be free as long as you receive money from me. And I got a job right away. So I say, I'm divorcing my father and my husband. So so I found an incredible freedom in that way, but it was a culture shock. BC was a very closed-in society.
Which one? Sorry, BC?
Vancouver
Oh.
at the time. Oh my God.
What time was that, if I can ask?
79.
Yeah,
It
okay.
was really tough, and I was used to, if I'm in a class and I see that person who sits next to me in the corridor, I would say hello, and there was no hellos. There were no hellos of any kind. So that was a culture shock, and then you really start finding yourself. Suddenly, you're in a culture. All your family's back home, and so. I experienced the blues really hard for the first time, and that was so it was a lot of new experiences, and then life happens, and as I'm getting really into my dance career, I am diagnosed with a synovial sarcoma behind my knee, and so I almost lose my leg. I didn't allow them to amputate, but so I lost a lot of muscle and that, and so that the dance career was over, and I was going like, what do I do now? So I went back to the one thing I really wanted, which was acting. And slowly, trying to redefine. I tried to be a choreographer, and that wasn't what I was. I liked the performance part. And so it was, I find that life throws you all these things, and they're very tough, but they're also really amazing, because they're ways in which you start finding yourself and what is important to you. And then there was the film industry in Vancouver, right? So I was one of the only Latinas. So I got all the parts. I was the maid. I was the screaming mother. I was killed in every episode. What I really wanted to do was theater. And when I came to Toronto, I moved from Vancouver to Toronto in pursuit of a better place to do the arts. And I was married to a second husband at the time, who was a filmmaker, and he was done with Vancouver. I was doing really well, so I moved here a little bit reluctantly.
Right.
And then I arrived in the city. I still remember one night coming down Avenue Road, and I just went, I want to conquer this city. I screamed at the top of my lungs.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about Avenue Road like that.
And
I know. I was like,
that's
near
amazing.
Casa
I
Loma.
just wanted this city. I felt like I was back in Colombia.
Oh.
There was something about the
Without the
Yes.
mountains.
the vibrations of the city, and I came here, and I was, when you're starting out, you're not afraid, so I would call up executives. I said, I'm a new actress in town. I would like to have a meeting with you. I thought the world had to see me, and of course you start. So this city, immediately I booked Street Legal, which is being revived. I booked a recurring role. I was doing this show, what is it, about cops? Bad cops? No. Something that was like those kind of reality reenacting things.
Oh.
And they loved me. At some point, the producer said, let's not even bring her in for any auditions. We just give it the episodes as we see it. So I was working a lot, and I decided to write. Telefilm had a grant I had never written in my life, and I wrote a script, and I got $10,000 at the time. So I was going, okay, there's something happening in this city, and that beautiful thing of those beginnings, and then you start settling in, and as scary as it was also an opening. And then I went, okay, how do I get? My life is amazing. I love it. So I go,
It's the best thing ever.
I go, I'm divorcing. Okay, how am I going to survive? I have no money. I'm catering my ass, crazy, which I loved. I have loved every job I do. I did it with the most passion until I didn't enjoy it anymore, and then I left. When I was serving people and hating it, I went, these people are paying to have this experience, and here I'm this horrible bitch serving their food. So I knew it was time to leave, but I applied to the Canada Council for the first time to write my first play ever, based on Manuelita Sáenz, my idol, the Manuela, the beautiful Manuela Sáenz. And they had this new grant. It doesn't exist. Sorry, there's no money like there was money in the 90s in the system. And I get another $10,000 grant. And I had just divorced. I had no money. So I started writing like crazy. And that also kind of, I go, there's no way I'm going to get a job in theater in this town. I would audition and people love me, and they would say, but how can we justify a character with your accent? So I went, well, it can't be that difficult to write and produce a show. And little did I know.
Everything you're saying, like how your mentality was like, you're not giving it to me, I'll make it.
You have to, and that's the beautiful thing also, not knowing, I thought I had the best play on earth.
Sí.
And no matter how I was criticized and that, I said, I'll show them. But you also have to be very careful that you always do the work because you believe in those stories, and I believed in those stories. My first play is For Sale, and I had just been hired as an interpreter for a Canadian documentary shooting in the war zone in Colombia, and I had spent 3 months in the war zone with a fake journalist pass, which allow us to be with paramilitaries, with guerrilla, with following the work of Peace Brigades International, places where we could not even have imagined going back like a year later, because journalists were being killed. There was no protection, and that changed my life. So I came back, and I wasn't going to direct the show, but the person I had chosen to direct the show, I thought wasn't going to work, although I loved that person. So I took on the directing, the producing, acting. Thank God I didn't choose the lead role. And we did it, and it was like nobody knew who Aluna was. Like nobody.
Well, what was Aluna at that time?
Yeah. Who was Aluna at that time?
Trevor and I.
Yeah.
We just came onto the scene. We had done a summer work show, a beautiful show that I think it was the beginning of our very interdisciplinary language called Meeting Place, which was about Toronto as a city. We were interested and was inspired by Julio Cortázar and those short stories of Cortázar. And we did this wicked, weird piece that was beautiful at Summer Works. And right after, Summer Works was in August, and right after we produced For Sale, like in October. I remember there was a time there were 2 people in the audience, and our thing was we go on no matter how many people there are in the audience. That thing that I don't accept it in theater here, that if there are less audience members than the cast members, you don't go on. You don't have to go on. I go, what?
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not their problem that they came all the way here. And so it became like a very spiritual experience doing that play. And to our surprise, and we did whatever we wanted. I decided to tell the story of the Americas in a way, of Colombia, and this experience that I had been with all these human rights activists and these women human rights activists. And the play opens with this character getting shot and entering the tunnel of death. And that was for me a way that I could travel through time in the piece. And of course, as usually, people didn't understand my dramaturgy or how I wrote and everything, and all these weird characters that I always have in my plays, but they were based in all these people I had just met and in my own mythology of this magic land where I come from. So we did it. And to our surprise, we get nominated for 3 Doras, for design that Trevor got, and for acting that Michelle got. I got nominated for playwriting. I didn't get it.
So everybody got a little high five.
Yeah. So and from then, suddenly, from being a nobody, theaters were asking me to come for interviews, for internships, and that. So I began to see myself, because I ended up directing the play I had never directed. I started being very, very opinionated and about. So many people told me you cannot act, direct, and you cannot, especially in this town, is that you cannot write and direct your plays. And I went, well, I can. And there's this thing with and I said, for me, the writer-director is a very specific type, I think. Like, I wouldn't call... Yeah.
Okay, I've never done it, but what I've seen from people is that you can't assume that you're going to put 2 hats on and switch them all the time. It has to be a craft.
Yeah.
Is what I understand. What do you think about that?
I think it's what helped us develop a language at Aluna, because Trevor and I have always worked together. And so what happened is that I would tell the story and work through the story with him, but we were already incorporating the design. So design was so much part of the storytelling that we call the dramaturgy of design, something that we do in all our work. You know, the design begins with the thinking process. And so I think for a long time, I don't necessarily call myself a playwright, or I think the writer-director is an interesting thing. There are people, playwrights that are those that write the right plays or the good-made plays. The well-made plays.
Yeah.
There's styles. And the other thing is there's not one kind of theater. We like to say theater is one thing. Theater is many different things. So there are many different styles, and there are many different ways. For me was to bring the voice of a woman, and I said, I can't give. The first play, I realized it was so great that it didn't work with this other director, because who can tell that story? A person that doesn't know my country, doesn't know that mythology, those archetypes, that hasn't been in the war zone like I had been. And so I've been, like I always write from a very truthful place. My dialogues usually come from real people. I have a conversation stay with me, an image stays with me with memory. And I begin to write. I think my work is very much a memory play. I've been very interested in the exploration of memory. I think it's also part maybe of the immigrant experience, because there's this thing that you don't want to let go of this other side of you. So there's, at the beginning, there was this need to tell the world, and now that I was producing, directing, and doing my own work, and nobody was going to tell me how to do it, I wanted to tell the world about this horrible armed conflict that was happening in my country. My theory is that probably for me has to do, well, many things. I've always been displaced almost since I'm born. So there's displacement, looks at memory, I think, as a way to create your own mythology, your own history. Because memory is also such fiction, right? Yes. Like I go sometimes, did that really happen? Or my mind is very fantastical. So I go, well, this is how I want my memory to be. And so you build, when pieces of your life have been cut and you don't remember things, you fill in those holes with these memories, right?
It makes me think of like resilience, like a way of being resilient in your life.
And I don't know. It's just I love memory. I don't know why.
So can I ask, what is your relationship with Medellin now and with Canada now?
My paisa, this woman that survives, this woman who goes and keeps going, comes from that land and those mountains.
Your paisa?
Paisa, we call the people from Medellin and Antioquia, the province or el departamento, paisas. And I get my strength from those mountains. I am strong, and I know it's from that land. And it's not an easy place, but I do get, I feel that strength very much.
It's so interesting to me that you're saying that, like, you really feel in your body that you are attached, you learned from that land, like, just because you were born there, like, you're attached to it. I feel that way so much about Halifax, the water, and the Atlantic Ocean specifically, and that northern Atlantic Ocean. I have a huge responsibility to that, to the Bay of Fundy, to the red clay, to the salt water. Like, I feel it, and it's a huge part of me. But it's just such a coincidence where we were born. It's just such a, like, my actual physical body and my ancestors that I know of have never been there. But for some reason, I was just born there, and I just feel it. I know. I just feel it. It's so strange.
That's the beauty of life. Like, we had, really, when I started the company, and I am not exaggerating, maybe there were 5 Latin American artists in this town.
Oh. Performing artists?
In theater.
God. Okay, 5.
And I am not kidding.
Yeah, okay.
Guillermo Verdecchia was one of the bigger names because he had written Fronteras Americanas. But somebody like me, a newcomer, like with an accent, and no, an accent is very dangerous.
Ooh.
It is. It's like it confronts white supremacy. It's like, you are other. How are you going to deal with me? And mostly they're like, we're not going to deal with you.
And also it makes you have to listen to me.
Yes.
And one thing is having an accent, and we're conversational here. When I go on stage, I prepare myself very well, and it's like everything. Whether you have an accent or not, you have to work your voice.
Yes,
that's your responsibility as a performer. Your voice, your body, everything. Your body's a temple, and your voice is an instrument, and And I was told when I was doing líneas in November, this young woman who's studying in one of the theater schools came. She has recently arrived, I think, from Colombia or somewhere, Latin American countries. And she says, you have an accent. I say, yeah. I just been told in school that I have to get rid of that accent if I want to work as an actor. right? So the thing is this. As an artist, if you want to really work, do your own work. There's always something wrong that they're going to find with you, right? So either you take, and that's again, what kind of work are you doing? Because when you're doing theater that is about not selling, is not about doing, where I don't like to use the word political theater. You name whatever you want, you put the category whatever you want, but the work that is about immediacy, work that really needs to get out because that story is important to happen now. We're talking about something that we need to have this conversation in the world about, in the immediacy of the people and the society around us, our communities in Toronto. Sí. It's not about how you look or how you sound, and those works, you have to do them yourself. And isn't that amazing? I'm so glad I got rejected. Because I never wanted to work for anybody. I want to be my own boss. In 2010, when I said that things began to change, and it's for the first time, I'm doing my last play in the trilogy of Women and War, and it was about girl soldiers because I had worked with them. I had done a lot of research, and the girl soldiers in Colombia was something that really fascinated me because many of them went to war as a way of emancipation, as a way of protecting themselves from violence, from rape. As a soldier, they had rights, and a man could not rape them. Of course, things happen, but that the rule is not.
They also get training on how to defend themselves.
Yes.
That sounds
and
really amazing.
They're warriors. They're and I'm not saying things do not happen, but the rules in the guerrilla groups are rape is not allowed, right? So. There was a character. I always have dead characters, which was another problem that dramaturgs had with me in Toronto. They said, "So is it a ghost?" And I go, "No."
I love it.
They're just dead.
Yes, exactly.
I love that.
Don't you have dead? And then I go, they're just an extension of my mind,
yes.
And
I've been thinking so much about magical realism and sci-fi from a POC point of view, and especially a feminine sci-fi. Like, I just find that like black women and people of color, women of color, and people of color, our cultures, the lines between reality and memory and fantasy and mythology they're just not the same as in white supremacist societies. It's just not. Mm-hmm. And like they live right beside each other. We live with them. They are here. Because
our worlds are magical in many ways. They're so the conflicts that all our countries live through, like doing that documentary in the war zone, there was a moment that we were following, peace brigades, but they were protecting accompanying this man who had a death threat. And I remember the director turning to me, we are partying that night, and he says, "How can this man be dancing and partying when he may be dead tomorrow?"
Oh, that's such a Latinx thing.
And because this man said, because if I let fear get a hold of me, I cannot be a human rights activist and do what I need to do.
Absolutely. You need to hold that hope.
I've been reading on magic realism, and it's like, magic realism is so beautiful because it's these what seem magical elements that for me are a way to really show reality. They're not that they're...
Exacto.
They just emphasize the real.
And I find that the title of magic
poetry.
Realism... Yeah, and I was reading somewhere, I forget who said this, but magical realism was a name that was put on that way of speaking. Like, it didn't come from Colombian literature. No. It didn't come from Latinx writers. It came from other people assessing what they saw. And for I feel like for us, it's just what it is. It's not even realism. It just is life. It's life. That's what it is.
Well, and there's so much. You go to the character in that. So there were two characters that people couldn't, everybody, my dramaturgs wanted me to get rid of them. There was the being.
The being?
Yes.
Okay.
I couldn't figure out anything, and the being had this mask, which became the Ruta's mask.
The mask.
Oh, yeah.
And the mask was the memory of the totem poles, the gigantic totem poles in San Agustin, of this in San Agustin in Colombia, this massive.
Deja. What? There were totem poles in Colombia?
Oh yeah, but they're of stone, right? Like these.
Of stone.
Yeah, and so Trevor, I showed him some pictures and that, and then Michelle, who did that character, we decided that the mask looked this way, and the body was turned the other way, so you only saw her bum, and then, after the first preview, she was wearing panties, and I looked at it, and she looked at me, and she said, the panties have to go, right? I said, yes. And it was this beautiful being accompanied the dead grandmother, which the dead grandmother appears only when the soldier girl has been injured, and is either she's gonna move or die in the jungle, or she's gonna get moving, so her grandmother appears and start fighting with her in Spanish. Because I auditioned all these actresses and I couldn't find that archetype. I couldn't.
The Spanish-speaking grandmother?
Yes.
It's because they're precious natural resources, and you can't just...
And there was something about that character that wasn't working, so I knew of this amazing Cuban actress that I knew had lived here and left for Miami because she couldn't find work here. And I called her and say, hey, I had a few glasses of wine. And I said, do you mind coming and doing this role and that? And she said, but I can only do it in Spanish, Bea.
Perfecto.
And I went, okay. And then I said to Trevor, well, she'll do it, but she'll do it in Spanish. And he says, okay. So why don't we subtitle the whole play in the 2 languages?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so that's when we begin to work with subtitles. And the actress who played the young guerrillera didn't speak Spanish. Micheline Calvert spoke English, but Micheline is a highly trained actor. And so through her body language, the other actor knew where they were in the dialogue. They never got lost in that scene. It was like a 10-page scene.
Wow.
Never. It was perfect. And it was beautiful hearing the 2 languages. And so the usual theaters would say, how can you justify that character speaking Spanish and the other one in English? And I went, you know what? That's a day I said, fuck it. I ain't justifying Spanish anymore. If I fucking want to use it, I am the playwright, and I am the director, and I am going to use it. I'm done with justifying why my characters have to speak one language or the other. And then the being. Every time after the show, Q&As and that, nobody wanted to know anything except what did that character represent? I was going, I don't know.
Yes.
Translation is not translating a language, but it's a cultural interpretation that runs through your veins, right? So the way I tell my stories make a lot of sense to me. And to these makeup, which is Colombian, Canadian, like all these things. And Canadian also from this immigrant experience, because I think
I don't even know what Canadian means. It means so many.
And and he's, and there are people who are born and bred here, and he's beautiful,
Yes.
You know what I miss in the part of the adoption,
Sí.
the cultural adoption, is that there's something when I get to Colombia, I love the ocean. I've always had a place by the ocean. And that land in particular, I see it and touches me. I think Canada, and I've been lucky to travel a bit, and that is one of the most beautiful places I have seen.
Sí.
People who have not seen the nature in this country have no idea
Yeah.
how spectacular this is.
Sí.
But that thing when I'm driving in a 4-wheel drive through the jungle to get to the beach, is like, that sensation is from that land. And that's the only thing I miss. I miss that, but this place is my home.
Yes.
I have a question.
Colombia is not.
What is Colombia then? If you could put a word to it, if you want to.
It's my memory.
But you go there and you visit it.
I go there a lot and I work there a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's still your memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about Rutas Panamericanas a little.
Yes.
So we've touched on this a lot in this conversation, but your vision, I see you holding a Pan-American vision. What is your view on Pan-American art, firstly? What do you think Pan-American means to you?
Well, this is interesting because apparently many people don't like the word Pan-American anymore.
What is it? Why?
I don't know. It's like, writing these grants, are we Latin American? Well, Latin America doesn't include the Caribbean, doesn't include the Afro cultures, doesn't include the indigenous. So, no, indigenous people don't define themselves as Latin American.
Oh,
yeah.
but Pan-American.
Pan-American is, the whole idea is, hemispheric is a more beautiful name for me, but it's been taken by another institution because I feel we are a continent.
Who?
From north to south.
Yes.
I mean, the elders in the Amazon talk of a time when they were connected all the way up by water routes.
Of course they were.
So this idea of these divisions did not exist.
Yes.
And so I think what separates us in many ways is language. That the North, because, the English-speaking feel that separation. But really, I've been trying to push so much. I mean, when we start with Rutas, I would always say my Pan-Americanism includes Canada. Canada plays pivotal roles in the Americas. It has the opportunity to play very incredible, pivotal roles culturally. In economics as well, in good ways and in bad ways. Canadian mining is not one, there's good things and there are many, many bad things. So that responsibility of us being aware and having the conversation as a continent are very important. A lot of the investments in the Americas by these big monies coming from the North affect us. So I do think, for me, that need to really have a conversation together is very important. Is very important to me. Also because I think, why don't we enjoy that there's this incredible diversity of perspectives and, that's what enriches the world.
But I see that vision in the way you're talking about it, like just completely forgetting, and I'm putting this in air quotes, that there are borders between every slice of the land, any way you can slice it. And those are sometimes very physical barriers that people can't cross.
But that's what art does, transcends that. I really do.
I wanted to ask a question, So we've been saying about how all these like names que nos ponemos o que usamos. Y I remember one time we were here and you said something about how the Latinx title has either helped a lot, it has helped you a lot, and has also hurt you a lot in a way. I wanted to know more about it.
I'm done.
Why?
Yo ya no quiero definiciones de ninguna clase.
¿De ninguna?
No.
¿En tu arte?
En nada.
So you don't want definitions on yourself in any way?
Eso,
no.
Tell me more.
I just want to be an artist.
Uh-huh.
And I will always create from what this woman is and this body is and my heritage is and everything. But estas boxes, no. I'm reaching to speak to the world. That's what I'm reaching to. And the boxes, for me, they have been very necessary in la trayectoria de Aluna because it's the only funding we could get, But I go now in these grants, I go, Latin America, no, that doesn't work because then we exclude all these other communities. Also because I go, I am not Latin American, I'm Colombian. Latin America is a whole world. How can I say that I represent Mexico? Yeah. It's like, and respect for those other cultures that are not mine, I don't even know. When I went to Mexico, it's a world that I don't even know, and it's this magic of worlds that's the other great thing about menopause.
Tell me.
I will not take any definition from anything anymore.
Whoa. Can you just link that to menopause? I'm so interested.
I think it's just growth, and I'm using the word menopause because I think menopause, I think because when we decide that it's an illness, as we've been told that this horrible thing is a beautiful passage. It's a rite of passage into, where you go. I tell you why it's so beautiful. Because I got it very late, so that's good.
Who knows when it's supposed to come?
But the thing is also, I'm starting to be aware of a limit in time.
Oh.
Okay.
I know that maybe I lived like the Japanese woman who is now at the oldest, 116. hey, if that's what is meant for me and I'm doing okay, I would love to. But what I'm saying to myself, if I don't do it now, when am I going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And also because I'm trying everything in life now. I'm going, I don't have to define myself as anything to discover myself.
You don't need the word to help you, or you don't need it?
I don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about Madre, because after this episode, we're going to listen to Madre. So even though it's a weird jump, but it's not. It's connected with what we'll all be talking about. So how was Madre inspired? That we kind of knew, but if you want to tell us a little bit more about Madre.
Well, and it's funny because you don't understand your work until very late. Even just this question now and where I'm sitting and all these things, we have talked about power.
Mm-hmm.
For me, power is, if I can get to that space within myself that I can trust myself with everything, with my doubts and my no doubts and everything, for me that is power. Embracing all of them. All of them. All my demons, all my good things. See, I'm going to say good and bad. There are no bad things. All these things, for me that is power. That's true power. Because then you stand on your truth and there's nothing that can, you know. And for me, Madre, you know, because then I did Líneas recently, which is the other chapter about it. I didn't know then, but it was dealing with euthanasia and the euthanasia of Julia specifically. I realized my mother, who I never thought she was an incredible strong woman without her knowing and without knowing how much power she had. But she has been, the other day I'm crying, going, she has been the biggest inspiration of my life. Like that journey of, because Madre was about her journey through Alzheimer's and as an only daughter or child, and, you know, like putting her in a home and going through this journey was like, it changed me so deeply and affected me very deeply. And then her death affected me even strongly. I don't know. It was even harder in many ways. And I'm just trying to come out of it. I didn't understand that until I did Líneas, how much it takes to go through these phases in life. And but her strength and the biggest gift, and that is power. That she said to me when she still had a little bit of lucidity, she says, I'm entering a phase of my life that terrifies me, but I know I have to face it. And I have already lived. This is your time to live. She never asked me to move back to Colombia to take care of her or anything. It was letting go of, because it was now my time to live and to dream and to be, you know, what she had already done.
I'm so excited to listen to Madre now for the next 3 weeks. We're going to tune in together. One more question.
Yes.
Actually, there's one question until we have this wrap-up question. So in one sentence,
Oh my God.
You can take time to think about it. One sentence. Tell us, 50 years from now, in 2062, what does your ideal arts ecology look like?
If we're still here, because climate change is a real thing.
It is. So you can put that into there too.
No definitions.
No definitions. You don't want to guess.
No boxes. No definitions.
Got it. Perfecto. Okay.
I really hope there are no more boxes. It's just art.
Cool.
No, hombre. Para empezar, quiero decir algo. Yo quiero escribir un libro que diga, what would Bea say? Every time you're like in a position that you're like doubting yourself, just pull the book. And you're like, I'm going to call a CEO right now.
Yeah.
Just like, it's amazing. Okay, so we have 3 wrap-up questions. But the first one is like, what is your favorite dicho? Tu dicho favorito?
¿En español o inglés?
Ajá.
What's your
La
favorite?
esperanza es lo último que se pierde.
Oh. Okay, so in English, that's hope is the last thing that you lose. Yeah. Is it like a wish, like may hope be the last thing that you lose?
No.
Or it's just the sentence?
It's a song, I think, but I say it all the time. Dicen que la esperanza, or maybe they made it into, es lo último que se pierde.
It sounds like Silvio Rodriguez to me.
No, it's an old vallenato, and it's about a woman who is called Esperanza, and he loses Esperanza. But that has been for me in my place, and that, for me is my saying. La esperanza es lo último que se pierde.
Hermoso.
And then I wanted to change this question because I really want to know, who's your theater crush right now?
In terms of art.
I mean, I love Susanna Fournier, just to name one.
Yes.
But she's not the only one. I've seen a lot of works. Oh my God, she's been around for a long time. I'm also trying to see a lot of dance now. Santee Smith, last piece I saw at Harbor Front. What I'm saying is that, yes, I'm madly in love with all these women and their work, because I also, what I have seen is a beautiful community of women supporting each other.
Yes.
And it's very, very exciting to me. And I think these women are, we have a way of telling stories, and women are, this generation is taking the power, in that sense, the power that I don't like that word a lot, but in the sense that you do your work, you produce your work, you do your things, and then therefore those stories get out. And so in that sense, power is a good thing, because, when we're talking about power, is a very interesting thing. Would women define power in the same way?
No, that word may be something else.
And women is also very general, because women,
exacto.
we're many different kinds. We're not all angels and sisterhood thing. No. We have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Okay, and the last question.
What is your favorite merienda snack? De cualquier lugar del mundo. Anywhere. It doesn't need to be.
Okay. Pasteles de arequipe.
What is that?
I know. What is
Arequipe is
it sounds
like
amazing already.
what is the Argentinos y Uruguayos call it?
¿Alfajor?
No. It's like un caramelo. Es como...
Dulce de leche.
Como un dulce de leche, pero en Colombia hay unos pastelitos. Entonces el pastel es de sal.
Oh.
I love salt
It's
with
a salt
sweet.
cake?
Yeah, pero con arequipe.
With
Caliente.
dulce de leche, like caramel.
Yeah.
Hot.
Pero es arequipe. We
Oh,
have
qué
arequipe.
rico.
Arequipe is...
Okay, perdón. Arequipe.
Yes.
Eso sí.
Yes. That, yeah.
I wanna,
O las empanaditas de las iglesias. Yo nunca iba a misa, pero ya. I would only go to church on Sunday to get empanadas.
Oh,
The little fried
Pues
empanadas.
imagínate.
Pero de las iglesias.
¿Pero
sí.
qué tiene adentro?
I think they put potatoes and meat and stuff. I don't know. Yeah.
with the hand of God, can you
With the
imagine?
hand
of God.
Really
Of course.
beautiful.
Yes.
Ok, muchísimas gracias por hablar
Muchas
con nosotros.
gracias, Bea.
Fue un placer.
Merendiando. Ahora sí me voy a comer el guacamole porque no me dejaron comer. Porque hacía
Estamos
ruido.
hablando todo.
Y ahora, por favor,
Dios
ponte a
mío.
escribir tu libro, What Would Bea Do? What Would Bea Say?
Pero
por
eso
favor.
es lo que mi otra mentora, que es Patricia Ariza, cuando yo estoy en situaciones en el ensayo o tengo dificultades con algo, yo digo, ¿qué haría Patricia Ariza?
Mira, yo digo, ¿qué haría Beatriz Pizano?
Es hermoso
verdad.
porque uno dice, yo digo, ¿cómo actuaría ella? ¿Qué haría? ¿No? Y aunque uno siempre hace lo de uno, pero es muy bonito tener alguien, que uno diga, wow, pues no diga eso. Escriba una comedia.
Sí. No, ya, claro que sí.
Ríanse
Mentors
de
are
Bea.
beautiful.
No hay nada más bueno que se rían de uno.
Sí.
Ya.
Mentors are beautiful, and we live in an ecology with lots of really amazing
Yeah.
women,
Sí.
lots of amazing
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
artists.
Y
It's such
si
a gift.
después de esta conversación ya tiene mucha duda de escuchar Madre, el próximo episodio puede escuchar la primera parte de Madre. So next episode is going to be the first part of Madre.
You better tune in.
Yes.
We're going to be there.
Adiós.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby. No, don't do that. Don't record that.
Wow.
Wow. I feel empowered. I feel inspired.
Yes.
I feel ready if I ever get menopause. Like this was I love Beatriz Pizano so much.
I know. It's such a gift to be able to talk with people like this, and talk to people who are older than us, talk to people who want to talk to us.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really special.
Also, it's great because now next episode we get to hear some of Bea's work.
Yes.
Madre, it's gonna be so good. It's such an amazing, beautiful play. You also get choose your own adventure. You wanna go Spanish? You wanna go English? We have it for you. We have it all.
Yes, so the next episode of Radio Aluna Teatro that's going to come out is actually going to be 2 episodes. It's going to be the first installment of the play Madre by Beatriz Pizano, but we'll have an English version and a Spanish version. And we're going to have the entire play in both an English and a Spanish version, so you can, again, choose your own adventure. They're both so beautiful in different ways, but in really, really cool ways. And then after we finish listening to the entire play together, which is going to take about 3 episodes, you'll get fresh new Merendiando episodes.
Merendiando.
Because we know you're going to miss us, you know?
Sí, van a decir, ¿dónde están? And then we'll be here to take your hand and navigate through them.
Yeah, and we'll have more conversations with community members and artists, and we're going to unpack some of the things that Madre talks about.
Porque es una obra grande y fuerte y bellísima.
Sí, seguro, seguro. So stay tuned.
Radio Aluna Teatro is produced by Aluna Theatre with the support from the Metcalf Foundation, the Late Law Foundation,
the City of Toronto, the Canada Council for the Arts, the Ontario Arts Council, and the Toronto Arts Council. Aluna Theatre is Beatriz Pizano and Trevor Schwellness with Sue Ballant and Gia Namens.
Radio Aluna Theatre is produced and hosted by Camila Diaz Varela.
Hey! And Mónica Garrido, of course. Intro music is by Simeon Samba, and outro music is by Brandon Valdivia. Special thanks to Mónica Alejandra Garrido Huerta for our merienda snack today.
For more about Aluna Theatre, visit us at alunatheatre.ca, follow at Aluna Theatre on Twitter or Instagram, or like us on Facebook.
And subscribe to this podcast on any platform that you normally get your podcasts. We are on iTunes, on Google Play, on Podbean, and you can catch us on the alunatheatre.ca website.
Para cualquier otra información, por favor vayan a la página de alunatheatre.ca, donde pueden encontrar todo lo que Aluna Theatre está produciendo y creando para la comunidad.
Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros una semana más. Es un privilegio, realmente sí.
Yes. And stay tuned because there's so much more to come.
Hasta pronto.